Hello and welcome again to this video. In our last video or in our last section, we have built and we have learned how to fetch all the tweets and show them on our Twitter timeline. In this video, we are going to implement some features like feature and bookmark feature, and then we will proceed further. So let's start building these features. So as you can see, here is our timeline and this is looking good. As for now, this is all being rendered server side. So if you hit refresh, then you will see all the tweets rendered instantly, or like it is not being rendered on client. That's why we don't have any loading indicators at all. So it will be fetched directly. Now what we need to do, we need to implement our like feature and our bookmark feature. So in the new Twitter, we can also bookmark tweet directly from here. So we can implement the feature, we can implement a save button here, and then we'll see how to do the bookmark feature. Implementing bookmark and like feature, the both logic is similar, very similar, and you will see how we get that. So this is our application. Inside the main component, we are rendering all our tweets. So first of all, I will separate this component out into a new component. So let's create a new component. And also the other thing is, you can see here we are using Pascal case and here we are using some another case. So I will change the case to a smaller case. So here I will say left sidebar like that. We will also auto update the imports as well. So here you can see this is looking good, so that we have consistent naming in our whole application. Here we will say main component. Yes, let's change this. Here we have our right section, or yeah, let's name it right section. Yes, it is complaining and it is saying main component cannot be used as CSS component. Its return type is not a valid CSS element. Let's see that. Okay, so we have to, if we remove this is not working. Okay, so maybe we need to do use server here, then it will work. And we can also have a look at, okay, this can't be here. I will search and we will see how this works. So in the app router, we have file convention, error loading page.js. This is the export default function. And what we need to do is we need to find the server components, functions, Next.js server components. So this is our client component. As you can see, we have some hooks inside here, but we need a server component. So this is our page. Here we are getting all the data and here we are fetching all the data. So why it is not working is it is saying that promise element is missing. Okay, so we need to mark it as a React.server context. No. Let's see if Next.js has some type for it. Server, no. Okay, so to use async server component with TypeScript, ensure you are using TypeScript 5.1.3 or higher end types React. Okay, so that's why we are facing the problem. So we need to update our TypeScript as well. If we go to package.json, so if we go to our package.json, and here we can find out the TypeScript version we are using. So you can see 5.0.1 and it is not updated. That's why we are facing that problem. Let's update the TypeScript as well. We don't need TypeScript as a dependency. We can use it as a dev dependency, and types React is 18.2.8. This is also not updated. So we can put all these things inside dev dependencies. So open a new terminal, because the project I am building it for like 2 months and I haven't touched anything for 2 months. Now I am doing all the things now. That's why we are facing some problems with versions. So now what we will do, npm add as save dev, and we will update all these things inside our dev dependencies. Also the TypeScript. Let's remove all these 3 things and it will work just like fine. Save this, hit enter. So now we have all the latest version, 5.1.3, yeah, and 18.2.8. Yeah, it is higher. So now it will work nice. Save this, and now if we hit the refresh, let's npm run dev again, and if we reload our window, now our error should be gone. Okay, it is still here. Let's search on Google and see if this works or not. So it is showing that it is async server component. Okay, so we TypeScript. Let's see, restart the TS server. We can do a lot of things here. We can also enable this typed route feature. That's good. So this is our error to use and ensure you are using. If you are using old, you may update the latest version, and types should resolve this issue. Okay, but we are still facing the issue. Maybe we are not using the version which we have upgraded to. So here we can select our TypeScript version to use workspace version 5.1.3, which is this. Yeah, okay, so you can see the error is gone. That's why we were also facing the problem when we are trying to submit something inside our server component. So if we go to our form, so here you can see we have defined as any. So let's remove this as well. Now you can see we are not seeing any error. It is fixed. So updating your TypeScript version and configuring it from here, select TypeScript version and use the 5.1.3 version and it will be fixed. Or you can use the workspace version as well. Also update your React types both. So inside package.json, this version and this version, this both needs to be updated. Okay. So now we are good. So let's also update this. So this is a client component. We are using this inside server component. So I will create another component, which is client components, and I will put this into client components because this is a client component. So we can differentiate it better. Yes. I will also rename this server component to as components and I will update this. Now things should be good. So now the naming is consistent. As you can see, we have also defined our functions separately over here. Here we are getting the tweets. It is for our timeline and things are now good to go. So now we can create our further things. We can create our features like feature and bookmark feature. First of all, we need to also add a button of bookmark. Let's remove this and see what is going on. Refresh this. Yeah, it's good. Some errors we are getting from PNPM. Updating to yarn works as well, but for now we can proceed. You can see this is being rendered. So in the client component, we can create a new form, but before that in the main component, here we are rendering everything. So first of all, we will create a new client component, which is tweet.tsx. We can also update this form client component. So we can say compose tweet form. And then we need to also update all the namings. I'm fixing the naming compose tweet form like that. Now we can also update this props. It's cool. And in the client component compose tweet form. And here we are importing, not this compose tweet form. So it is correct. And now it is good to go. We have fixed over naming. We have fixed a few things here and there. So now we need to go inside main component. So here is our tweet, RAFCE, capital letter first. And in the main component, here we can cut this whole thing. And here we can put this thing. We can import the tweet from client components. And here we can pass our ID as well. So we can say key is tweet.id. And other than that, we can pass the whole tweet as a props. So tweet is equal to tweet. And here we can say we are accepting tweet. And this is tweet props. So type tweet props is equal to tweet, and here we will define our tweet class. So let's hover over this tweet and we can copy this whole thing. Or what we can do, go to get tweets and here we are returning. So this is our type. So copy this and this thing. Import the database from library Supabase types and here we have our tweet just like this. Or we can define a type and we can use this everywhere. So what I'm saying is type tweet type. So we are sure that we are using the same thing here and there. Save the thing, tweet type, and we can export from here. Export type tweet type, and we will use this over here. So instead of doing this, we can do tweet type. Import the other things as well. These icons, Control X, and that's how. Import the Tailwind as well and the relative time plugin. This is how it will work. So now we have created a separate component for tweet. And we are using the same type here and there and it is good. Now it is much more organized and looking beautiful. So if we go to our application, it is running and everything is good. Now we will go to the tweet component here and we will create our like button. Let's create the like and we will see how to implement the bookmark feature as well. So the like feature is nothing. We just need to insert a row inside our likes table. So if we go to Supabase, our project, dashboard, and here is our tweet clone. In the table editor, here you can see we have our likes table. Here we need to insert a row, insert some data. We will say who the user. So who is the user who has liked which tweet. So we will specify user ID and tweet ID and we will save both of these so that we can know who is this user who has liked this tweet. then we can also fetch all the users from a single tweet. We just need to get all the data from this table. We will just say, give me all the users who have liked this post. So we will say, select all the users from likes table where the tweet ID is this simple. So now what we will do here, we will create another server action. So this time we are not using the form element. We will use something called start transition or a new thing in the Next.js server. If you search server actions, so this is how we are submitting our tweet, but this is how we can also use this for a button. Where is this? So this is this thing, use transition hook. So this is basically a client component. So we need to import use transition from here, from React. And this is a client component. We can specify this with use client. A server component can have client component inside, but a client component can't have server component inside it. So it will work just like as it was working. And we just need to do this transition. We will say is tweet pending. So it gives two things. Allows component to avoid undesirable loading state by waiting for content to load before transitioning to next stream. So it's good. We can take a reference to this. What is this? It gives us two things, is pending and use transition. Let's to update the state without blocking the UI. Okay, this is cool thing. So you can see the demo of this. So currently we are now at the about tab. If we click on the post, we now have post. If we click on about and contact, it is fast, but this is slow. Okay, why is that? Start transitioning and set tab to next tab. Cool, just a method to use this. Okay, now let's see how we can use this with our server actions. Is like pending and start transition. It gives boolean and start transition function. So we can name whatever we want. So we will just name it start transition, and when this is clicked, we will add a row. So this is hard button. And when this is clicked, we can name it button as well. So this is much better. So when this is clicked, you can copy the whole thing. We will implement a function called like tweet, and we will pass the tweet ID to the function like that. So now we need to implement our like tweet feature, or we can set the like tweet function. So inside the actions, we are importing add item from our server actions. Okay, so this is how we can import it from. So in the server component, we can create new thing, or in the Supabase, here we can declare use server as well like this. And here we can export the like tweet feature or like tweet function as well is equal to async. It will accept the tweet ID, which is a string. And then we just need to do the same thing here. Not same. Basically, we need this thing. If we have Supabase URL and Supabase secret key, then we need to await Supabase server dot from we have likes table dot insert, and it will ask us to insert something. Okay, so we are not defining the database. That's why it is not giving us auto completion. Now we should have our auto completion. Yeah, we have auto completion. So here we can say random UUID, the tweet ID is which is passed as tweet ID. Here we have the user ID. We can find our user. We can also pass the user ID over here. That's the good thing. User ID, which is string, and here we should have the user ID. So for that, we can use a hook called use user. This is a auth helper which is given to us by React. It gives us two things. I think it gives us user, which can be user or null. Okay. So here we can also make it condition. If the user exists, then only like this tweet, otherwise don't like this. If the user exists, user and user dot ID exist, which is by the way exist. If user exists, then like this tweet, otherwise toast dot info, or we can say toast dot error. Error would be not good. Simply we can show a message. We can say please log in to like a tweet, just like that. Here we can pass two things. So instead of passing the parameters as different variables, we will make it a object. So it will be much more easier for us to pass it down here. So what I'm saying is we need a tweet ID and we need a user ID, and these both are string. We can say we have tweet ID, which is string. We have user ID, which is also string, and here we can pass over user ID as well. That's the thing we need, and it will create a row inside our likes table, and then we can revalidate or we can update our UI that it is liked. That's how it is simple. So here we can import and we can pass down things here. Tweet ID is tweet.id and user ID is user.id, like that. and let's see if this is working or not. So here we are, and also log this out. We can see if this something went wrong, data and error. We can log console.log data and error, and we can also log this so it will be more descriptive. So here is our application. If we click on the like button, so we are liking our tweet ourselves. So it is saying please log in to like a tweet, which means the user is not defined. So we can log the user as well here. We can see what is going on. So if we try to, the user is null. Why is that? When we have signed in, why is user not logged in? If we can tweet, which means we are logged in, then why it is not showing? If we go to application, localhost, so there is not a other place where we have used this. So if we go to our context, our main context where we have defined all the logic for authentication, which is in the app directory, we have components, we have library in the app directory. We have Supabase provider. Here we are using everything. The router.refresh is a thing which we can use to refresh our router. Supabase.auth. So I think we can use this also. We have to use this. Use state, create browser Supabase client. And then here we can call this whole thing. We can say supabase.auth.getUser.then. It will give us the result. Inside the result, we can do all the stuff basically. So instead of console.logging it, remove this. And here we have the response, which is user response. If res.data, which is data is user, then we can say res.user data.user.id. Otherwise, we can say the user is not logged in. Okay, so it is also possibly undefined or the null. So here we can say if the result or data exists and this exists, then do this. Okay, so what it is saying is having some problems with that. Const user is equal to res.data.user, and here we have our user. We can say user.id like that. And we can show a loading indicator when this is being fetched, but we will see what it is. We can also show if this failed. So we can say cache the error and show a toast message, authentication failed. And instead of doing it inline, we can create a new function as well. But for now, let's proceed with it and see what is happening. So if we click on this like, okay, something worked this time. And here we can see our like. That's what I'm talking about. If you go here and user ID, and we can reference this to ourselves because we have liked this tweet, and you can see we are able to see. And if we go to reference this, which tweet is this, we can see select a record. Okay, so this is a tweet ID, and we can find out which tweet is this. We can filter our table with the tweet ID. So you can see hello world. We have liked hello world, and let's like this time this whole text. If we click on this, a new like row will be inserted into our table, which you can see, and this tweet is the long text, you can see. So this is how we have created our main logic for implementing like. Now what we can do here, we also have is like pending. So when it is pending, we can show 3 dots or something. We can disable the button if is like is pending, and we can change it to a red heart if the user has liked a tweet or not. We will do all the things in the next video. We will see how to show a red heart when the tweet is liked and do all the stuff like loading state as well. And then we will proceed to implement our bookmark functionality. Thank you so much, and I will see you in next video.